Hello YouTube, very quick video I wanted to show you now. This is only one Kenobi, by the way, only one. Welcome if you are a first time viewer. My channel predominantly is speculating about the future of the vintage collection. I've been doing a few little bits of recarding, which is what this video is about actually. I'm going to show you a little bit of a recard which has sorted out a problem I've had for a while with the Royal Guard. And also I will talk to you about what I think is the best and the worst we've ever had. Now then, this is some opened vintage collection Royal Guard packaging, which I decided to open very carefully and keep the packaging. And I've sorted a problem, as I say, that I've had for a while, because this is my least favourite Royal Guard. All my figures anyway are in boxes at the minute until I can find a suitable place to display them all together. But I was really disappointed when I got this figure, which is the Power of the Force Royal Guard, which I always wanted to get, thinking that proportionately he would be the same as any other Royal Guard, but no, he dwarfs them in size and width and everything. He just does not work. Now this used to be my favourite Royal Guard. This is the 2002 one. And I've got a few of these side by side that look really great together. The best Royal Guard has to be the vintage collection Royal Guard, and then actually the updated Black Series repack of him, which I'll talk about in a moment. However, this guy never worked, and I just thought, oh god, rubbish. And I thought, what if I buy another one, buy two and have him? But nah, I disliked him so much, I thought I'm going to stop there, cut my losses and not bother. And I thought, well, how will I ever display him? I don't know, because I just don't like to display him. However, I tried this out. I opened the Royal Guard, which I'll come to that in a moment, the vintage collection one, and I thought, well, I'll do something with this packaging. I thought maybe I would recard a vintage 80s one, but I've already done that once. So I thought I'd do this. I thought, well, this guy hasn't got really much of a future, so what will he look like in the packaging? And I'm really happy to say that he actually looks really good in an open vintage collection packaging. He really, really does. And because he's so chunky, that the vintage collection bubbles are a lot bigger than the VOTC bubbles, and the 80s vintage, of course, that he fits in there like a glove, as Jim Carrey would say. So I'm really pleased, and I might even, because it's an unpunched card as well, I might even do something about putting him in a star case if I seal him in. So I'm really pleased with that. Now let's go through the Royal Guard, shall we? Now you've seen enough of him. I believe that was to be the worst Royal Guard. If you hold on 1 minute, I'll show you the other one. I've just forgotten something. Stay there, you YouTube. Don't go anywhere. Hold the line. Lord Vader. Now check him out. There's the 80s one. This is a custom, not a custom, but you know what I mean. It's like a restoration I've done with the card back. And that is the original 80s, which is great. That head sculpt has not changed very much in many years. The 80s vintage one. Then I've got this guy to show you. I'll show him again. The 2002 era of the Attack of the Clones. That's a great figure. I used to look at that and think, whoa, that's such a cool Royal Guard. But since he has been eclipsed by our vintage friends. Before I show you the vintage friends, let's have a look at this 2005 Royal Guard, which I've dropped his rifle. He does come with a rifle, which I'm glad I've dropped it actually, because I don't really think that Royal Guards look good with rifles slung over their backs. You know, they're not clones, are they? Well, they might be clones. They might be. You just don't know who's underneath that armour. But you know what I mean? And I think that rifles and stuff should be for stormtroopers. These guys look much better with force pikes. You know, that regal kind of royal look. You know, Royal Guard. You know, they've got some skill, those guys. They're really mysterious. And let me show you now the two best ones, which is now the vintage collection one. Now, as I've said in a video that I haven't yet uploaded, I got this really cheap because I always wanted to get a vintage collection Royal Guard. Before getting this, and here he is, I had two of the Black Series ones, which are actually better because the texture of the cape of the Black Series ones are upgraded. They're much better. This, you will not be able to tell on the video, folks, but his robe is really fluffy. It's really, really spongy, and it's not that great, really. As I say, I only bought it to open it as a bit of a novelty, so I can say or know to myself that I have got one of these loose. That's all. And it's good for army building. I have 3 of this one. This is the you're probably getting confused. That's the vintage one. Goodbye. This is the Black Series one, and as I say, he is identical in every aspect except for the texture of the cape. You will not be able to see, but the texture of that cape is vastly superior. Just to give you a quick visual demonstration, if you take his helmet off here, which is very hard to get on because this cape is so spongy. Look, you can hardly get the helmet on properly. Watch the helmet, watch this. Can you see that? Can you see it spring back up? Whereas this Royal Guard, the Black Series one, you can take the helmet off and it pops on, and that's it, it's on. It does not pop back up. The texture of the cape, I would not know how to describe it other than, as I say, this one, the vintage collection one, is very fluffy, and the Black Series one, they use the same sort of textile as you would get from the cape of, I've shown you this before in another video, the cape of a Qui-Gon Jinn or any of the Jedis, Luke Lightsaber Construction, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Phantom Menace Jedi, any of those Jedis have got a certain fabric which kind of falls better on the figure, and it's much better. So anyway, that's all I wanted to show you. That's what I think the best and the worst Royal Guards are. The worst being the Power of the Force 2, the best being the Black Series 3 3/4 inch repack of the vintage Royal Guard. And as I say, I'm really happy with myself. I'm patting myself on the back there, folks, but I've found a new home for this Power of the Force Royal Guard. And also, it's a nice way to recycle the packaging, don't you think? Anyway, this has been Only One Kenobi. Only One, out.